I think you'd be surprised how much more money you can make if you were willing to live in certain cities. Today we're going to look at the average income and also net worth of people who have the Platinum and Centurion card. We'll look at what it means and also what I think about all of this. Before that though, big favor, give this a thumbs up. It surprisingly does help with the algorithm, which blows my mind sometimes. And if you are someone new here and you like stuff like this, then consider subscribing. American Express has a magazine called Departures that's sent to Platinum and Centurion card members. It used to be physical and I believe it's now fully moved online. With magazines, one thing they need to do is to sell ad space, and in order to do that, they have to pretty much market their audience. Someone buying a Tag or a Seiko watch is very different than someone buying a Vacheron. In the past, we had some blended numbers, so we knew that there were 1.3 million combined users for both Platinum and Centurion, and average income was about $741,000. Monkey Mouse found a new media kit that has Platinum-specific information. Average net worth is $4.3 million, average household income is $474,000, average age is 56, and number of properties owned is 3.6. Lucky from 1 Mile at a Time took some numbers down for the Centurion magazine before he took that site down. Side note, please share this video with people because I might need to take this down. For Centurion card members, the average net worth is $11.4 million. Household income is $1.8 million, average age is 57, and number of properties owned is 6. So a few things off the bat. These are averages which can be pretty skewed compared to medians. If 100 of us were in a room with Bill Gates, the average net worth of a person in that room is still $1 billion. At the same time, I think it'd be pretty weird to say that the average person there is a billionaire. Another factor is that these are numbers from the magazine versus American Express directly. In my head, at least, the person filling out surveys for magazines probably have a bit more time. I very much think about someone who's running a more established small business compared to someone who's still on the grind. If we take this at face value though, what does it mean for us? I think Dan B from Lucky's comments made a pretty good point. We are a small minority of Platinum cardholders, and the changes that they make are generally not targeted at us. Amex is fine with us, they tolerate us, but we're not their target audience. As much as the YouTube comments like to complain about annual fees increasing and how the card is becoming more of a couponing book, I think their core users don't really care. If anything, since they did the annual fee increase and all those other credits, signups have actually dramatically increased. There's a ton of people out there who pay for Equinox, but who didn't really consider this card until they added it as a credit. If you are considering the Platinum card, please make sure that it makes sense for you. We have a calculator on our site that goes through a lot of these credits, pretty much to make sure that benefits and perks outweigh the annual fee. If you're new to American Express, check Card Match to see if you have an elevated offer. If you do want to learn more about cards, whether it's the Platinum card or other cards out there, we do have links on the website, AskSebby.com, and also down below in the description box. Make sure they're competitive, but otherwise it's a huge way to support the channel, so thank you guys in advance. Similar to the comments about how the Centurion Lounge is changing guesting rules and how that's pretty negative and how that's going to destroy the brand, I've had people privately come to me and tell me that they actually want the annual fee to go up to $1,500 or $2,000 and that they're very happy with these changes. Their view is that they want to get rid of the riffraff, not realizing that I'm the riffraff. Sir, can you please stop shoveling food down your throat? I've said this before, but I actually think that the credits are good for us as optimizers. If you go back 5 years, the card had a $450 annual fee and you had a $200 credit, meaning that you were paying $250 out of pocket. So pretty much $250 for Centurion and Delta Sky Club access. Then they ended up updating it with some lifestyle stuff for Uber and Saks, so $550 annual fee, $500 in credits, and then down to a $50 effective annual fee. Right now, ironically, the iteration that a lot of you hate is $695, but you have $1,400 in credits. I think for us as optimizers, our brain melts a little bit when we can't use every single credit. We rightfully don't want to leave money on the table, and instead of focusing on all the credits that we can use and how maybe we are coming out ahead, we focus on the $200, $300, $400 of the ones that we hate and can't use. For me at least, as long as the credits cover the annual fee, that's all I really want because I'm using the card for lounge access. Just because you make good money doesn't mean that you're not looking for a good deal. On that note, this video is sponsored by Cometeer. Cometeer is a completely new way of making coffee. It's the only 100% brewed coffee that's flash frozen to lock in freshness. They send monthly shipments from a variety of incredible roasters. Pretty much the all-stars of the specialty coffee space, and this ranges from Counterculture to new partner Onyx, who's won a ton of awards. They ship you the capsules in dry ice and you put them into the freezer and you can enjoy it either hot or cold. For hot, I put the capsule under warm water for 5 seconds in order to loosen it up, and then just put it into a cup and pour in hot water. For cold, I defrost it and then pour it into a cup with ice. I've been drinking coffee since I was 12 and this is some of the best tasting coffee out there. It's smooth and you can actually taste the nuances instead of that burnt flavor that's associated with other coffee. Fun fact, this is the only coffee that Mandy can drink black. This is also one of our go-to travel solutions. You can have them in your carry-on, they're TSA approved, and once you get to the hotel, you can just toss it into the fridge or freezer. Maybe I'm crazy, but most hotel coffee doesn't taste that good. For a limited time, you can get 30% off your first order and also free shipping when you use my link down below. It's definitely worth a try if you're looking for convenience and you want to upgrade that coffee experience. Thank you Commentier for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back to it. One of the good and bad things about this is that it also dictates my strategy for videos. As you guys have aged and probably have increased your income, you're going to be focused on different things. There are a ton of you who spend something like $5,000 on food per month, and if you do the math, the gold card makes a ton of sense. So 5,000 times 12 months is 60,000 times 4x MR points membership reward points, that's going to be 240,000 points per year. Well, if you cash out those points through Schwab at 1.1 cents per point, that's about $2,640. The problem is that it can kind of start to feel like picking up pennies. And yes, I realize how crazy that sounds, especially if you live in a lower cost of living area. Let's say your household income is $500,000. Your take home is about $327,000. For a lot of people, you're probably spending 25 to 50% on rent, food, and fun. Probably 0 to 25% on more speculative investments, whether that's angel investing in startups, flipping JPEGs, or maybe trying to start a small business. Let's say you end up saving half of that take home, so $165K. You're now trying to convince someone who's saving $165K that $2,600 is worth wasting brain cells on. It's not money because that'd be ridiculous, but it's only about 1.6% of what they save every year. On the flip side though, if you market those 240,000 points, not as just $2,600, but as 2 first-class round-trip tickets from the US to Japan. The retail price for that is $18,000 to $22,000. As stupid as that sounds, that becomes a lot more interesting now. For a lot of these people, they're spending $5,000 to $30,000 on travel every year anyways, but they're still flying economy or maybe economy plus. This is a way for them to upgrade that flight and probably make player 2 happy. Just because you make enough money to afford spending $20,000 per person on a flight doesn't mean that you necessarily want to or that it feels comfortable. Well, if that's the case, how are you spending $60,000 on food? That's ridiculous. Yes, but it's also a lot easier to stomach $83 a day per person. 83 times 2 times 365 is 60,000. That's pretty much if you went out to eat for all your meals, 20, probably 20 and 40. For a lot of people, it only clicks when you talk about the aspirational YOLO stuff. The Maldives is another good example, $2,500 per night and $10,000 for 4 nights. Or you and your player 2 can both sign up for 2 different cards, so the Bonvoy Boundless and let's say the Bonvoy Brilliant, and that covers the trip. Or at least the hotel portion of that trip, which is the expensive part. And it's pretty easy to justify because you're just running rent payments through or your other dining expenses. Okay, so what are my thoughts on this? I'm surprised, but also not surprised. Net worth of $4.3 million for platinum card holders feels a little bit high, but also kind of expected. It just feels like a lot. 3.6 homes definitely feels very high, but it's also because most people I know are still renting, and maybe 1 or 2 of them are doing the rental thing where they're buying up properties in Texas just to rent it out to people. Most people though don't own a home, and I feel like they're paying $3 to $4K in rent. It makes sense, but I figured that lower cost of living areas would have pulled that number down a little bit. I kind of expected the 200K range, rationale being that 200K is doing pretty well in Houston, but it might be the starting salary in the Bay Area. So for example, if you're starting out at Amazon, Nvidia, or Google, it's about 200K to 300K. Depending on your background and skill set, I think a lot of people would be surprised how much more money they could make if they decide to live in a different city. I have a friend from Texas who absolutely hates the idea of California, but once he got an offer for 3 times the salary, it just made a lot of sense. If you're a dinky couple, so dual income, no kids yet, and you're both professionals, I think it's not abnormal to pull in close to $1 million. Let's say you're in your late 20s, you have 5 to 10 years of experience under your belt, and we'll look at Airbnb. Total comp is going to be in that 400K to 700K range, depending on your expertise. Average age of 56 is throwing me off a lot. I kind of expected something like 40. I don't know, given their marketing, I just don't imagine in my head a 56-year-old. It feels like they're marketing to late 20s, and then once you kind of even it out, it's in my head at least 40. Funny enough, even for you guys, for the viewers, the largest group is 26 to 34. I'm surprised that the next group is 35 to 44. I kind of thought it would be the sub 24, so the 18 to 24 range. It's interesting too because when you think about the perks they're adding, it feels like they are leaning more towards that younger audience. I just don't see that many 56-year-olds going to Equinox. At the same time, I'm also probably in the weirdest bubble where there are more dogs than kids in San Francisco, and probably also more dogs than strollers. Moving to the Centurion numbers, I'm kind of surprised because they seem pretty reasonable. When I think about the Centurion card, I'm always thinking crazy rich Asians versus someone who owns a small business and is doing pretty well. So putting them side to side, household income is about 4 times as much, net worth is about 2.65. Interesting that the age is only 1 year different. Properties owned is about twice as much, which doesn't surprise me because a lot of people do start to add in real estate to the portfolio later on. It actually begs the question of whether it even makes sense to launch an Optio card, because why would you really have something in between? I think it just devalues the whole brand. So would you go after the person with a household income of $1 million and net worth in the 10 mil range? I get it, I get how it would fit in, but it just doesn't really make sense to me. I think it would make it more confusing. My guess, which is probably very wrong, but if they do something called the Optio card, I think it's going to be dramatically different than what we expect. So people are thinking about it being a Centurion-like given the name. Optio is basically the second in command. I think it's going to be a card that targets a younger audience that is doing financially well, so that 30-year-old mark. If you take it down to brass taxes, American Express, yes, is a financial services company, but they're also kind of a marketing company. When you look at the Platinum card, what are they really doing? They're offering this whole payment rails, but they're also just offering benefits and helping brands get more users. They're probably getting those credits and perks for free, or maybe 25 cents on the dollar, and then just giving it to you. So when you think about it, who has the most expiring inventory? I would say events. Could you imagine a card that gets you free access to these events? I feel like a lot of people would happily pay $1,500 for a card that got them into different events, even if it's on a last minute basis. If you're American Express, what makes more sense? Having a card that gets you maybe a $25 Uber credit and a $100 Equinox and just a bit step up for all the Platinum perks, or something that's dramatically different that you could advertise to this new audience who maybe feels the Platinum is too stuffy. My guess is that events and these exclusive benefits are going to be the next battleground, especially as we have more things open back up. We had the multipliers and then we had the lounges and these other exclusive benefits. I think this is that next step. Let's wrap up the video because I'm going off on a super tangent. If you are someone that wants to learn about cards, whether fictional or existing ones, and you want to support the channel, consider using the links on the site, AskSebby.com, and also down below in the description box. My question for you is, are you surprised by these numbers? And if you are, which one surprises you the most? For me, I think it has to be age. I just expected a lot more 30 and 40-year-olds that would have pulled the numbers down dramatically compared to 56 and 57. So what surprises you? What doesn't surprise you? And also, if you were to create an Optio card, what would you do? Would it just be a Centurion Lite or a Platinum Plus, or would it be dramatically different? Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. If you're still here, mention the word dog and I'll try to heart your comment. Big favor, like the video, subscribe if you're new here, but otherwise, hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time. It is 9:15 p.m. and Mandy is rushing me out to go to ramen.
一楽のラーメン